Okay, I see your screen now. We can start. Hi everyone again. Welcome to this session. I am Shada. I'm COO and co-founder of Flowjin. This is a session that we are collaborating with Audacious and dear Sabahat Nourin as the CEO of Audacious. So this is a multi-part webinar. We are going through how you can build your personal brand and like give you all the tactics, strategies, tools you may need to actually get it done. So more about like who we are. If you don't know about Flowjin or Audacious, Flowjin is an intelligent content repurposing platform for B2B teams. So if you are creating any kind of long form video or audio content like webinar, podcasts, even customer interviews, any kind of long form, Flowjin automatically creates you derivative assets for your video ads, for organic social content, for sales enablement. So it basically creates you a lot of content to work with and build your brand. And about Audacious, Sabahat is the CEO of Audacious. It's a strategic consultancy that is actually helping tech founders to build their brand online. And Sabahat and her team helps the founders with the strategy, the tactics. She's with you along the whole journey. So make sure to check her website and Audacious. And so about this webinar, this is a session which we will cover how to do founder-led marketing. And the main speaker of this session is Sabahat. I may chime in a few times to share my experience and how I'm seeing Flowjin users, the founders, how are they creating the content and how are they kind of like uh, setting themselves away from all the hurdles that you mentioned in the chat. So about who is this session for? It's mainly for founders, and you can be like a tech founder, or you may have your own consultancy. You may be a solopreneur. It doesn't matter as long as you're a business owner and your audience is on social. This session is for you. Also, if you are a marketer, marketing leader, and you want to help your CEO to become a LinkedIn influencer, to utilize founder-led marketing as a channel, this session is also very helpful for you as well to help your CEO. And as I said, this is a multi-part webinar. The first one is today, where we cover like the high-level strategies, the why, the how, the what of founder-led marketing. And the next one is June 4th, where we dig deeper into how to actually execute on the strategy, the tools you may need, and the content strategies. So without further ado, I'm going to invite Sabahat to the stage and let's hear from her.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sheeta, for that introduction to Flowjin and Audacious. Thank you, everyone, for coming and joining us or during your lunch break if you're in the Toronto area, that time zone, or earlier on if you're in Calgary or anywhere else you happen to be. I'm so excited to share this webinar with you. I'm super passionate about personal brand creation. Here I am. Hi, I'm Sabahat, and I'm obsessed with clarity, storytelling, and helping tech leaders unlock their voice. And we'll talk about a little bit about why am I so obsessed with that. So a little bit about my journey, because I find it always helps when people understand who the person is that they're kind of hearing from, learning from, etc. So I started my career in engineering. So in engineering, technology, all of that, project management. I saw firsthand how tech leaders and engineering leaders struggled to communicate the value that their products, their services, and they bring to the table. Did not like it very much, right? I wanted to help. Eventually went on to do my executive MBA, went into Big Four consulting, worked for some really great big companies, two companies in Big Four consulting. And when I was working there too, I was working business strategy, massive digital transformations as well. And once again, I saw firsthand how crucial it is for senior leaders to build trust and to keep a full pipeline or win new business. And to build that trust and to keep a full pipeline, a lot of them were thinking of doing thought leadership content, thinking of writing white papers, if you ever went to see some of those Deloitte papers, McKinsey papers, PwC papers, all of those are examples of thought leadership content. And I saw how important it was for people to write those in order to keep that brand name as the expert in the industry. Eventually, after putting in a lot of work and a lot of years in those companies in that career, I eventually came on to start Audacious Strategy, where I help leaders, as Sheila said, to turn their expertise into influential and memorable brands. I'm also the fractional head of growth at a Canadian IoT company, and help them create all of their brand content, brand strategies as well. I'm also the host of Bold Hearted, which is a podcast for founders, change makers, trailblazers. So that's a little bit about me. In case you're curious, who is Sabahat and why is she talking to us and why should I listen to her? So what are we going to cover today? Here's our agenda. We're going to go through what is a personal brand, and then we're going to dive right into founder-led marketing. What is founder-led marketing? What is the role of a founder in, getting eyeballs on their product and service? Then I'm going to share the Audacious personal brand framework, which really helps you to start thinking of it strategically. You're not just going and starting writing something saying, this is my content, and I'm just going to write a few things once a month. We're not doing that. We're coming up with a strategy to make sure that we are consistent. We have a plan, and that time management is not an issue as we come up with a strategy. Then we will craft your leadership narrative together. We're going to talk a little bit about brand storytelling and then some common mistake founders make, and then how we can fix that. And of course, one more caveat. If you're not a founder in that sense of the word, it will all apply to you as well. Like Sheila said, if you're a solopreneur, if you're a consultant, if you're somebody who works really close with the founder, all of these will apply to you. Some tactical tools and strategies. And finally, we'll leave some time for questions and answers. But before I go ahead, Sheila, I had a worksheet that I had made. If you want to share the links to that in the chat. So, folks, there is a very simple worksheet that I have that will accompany this webinar. So here in the agenda, number 3 and number 4, there will be a little bit of time for you to do a little bit of work. So click on the worksheet when Sheila sends it out, make a copy of it, and you can use that when we go into the breakout session or the breakout time. We'll have like 2 or 3 minutes to do it. And that'll be your little accompaniment guide as we go through this. Just keep an eye out on the chat. So first, what is a personal brand? Now, I think if you are here in this webinar, you kind of have a little bit of an idea. Typically, I ask everyone who wants to chime in, but I'm just going to go ahead right now because we are a little bit, not over time, but we are at 12 minutes past the hour. So a personal brand is how people perceive you and your work and how they remember you even when you are not in the room. Now, that is a personal brand. It's how people remember you when you are not in the room. It is not about what people think about you, what they say to you when they're there, but how are you taking a seat in people's minds, okay? So here's what I say. You want to take up real estate in people's minds, especially if you are a solopreneur, a founder, or a leader, and have them attribute something to you. That something can be your product, your service, your opinions. You decide. That is a personal brand. Now let's jump right into founder-led marketing. So this is called the founder's dilemma, right? Nowadays, most consumers, our clients, consumers, any of that, don't just buy products. They invest in what a company stands for. And when they think what the company stands for, a lot of it is tied to the founding team, the founder itself. They want to trust the founders who are behind the company. If they want to spend money with a company, they want to feel like, you know what, this person shares my values. This is where I want to spend my hard-earned dollars. So and same things when a leader is trying to get people to join their teams, right? People don't just join any company if they have the choice, right? They want to join a leader whose mission, whose values they can identify with. They can say, you know what, that's a leader that I want to jump on their team with. A founder or leader's ability to shape and share a narrative could very well determine whether their business thrives or falters and whether teams choose to follow them. Now, we all kind of know this, but it's becoming more and more. Yeah, sorry, just a second. I think I'm the blocker. So let me just see if I can share this real quick. Sorry about that. Once I figure out how to work Google my grant access. Can somebody tell me if it works? Because I'm clicking on grant access. So hopefully it works. Maybe type in the chat if that works.
I'm seeing it on my side, which is like the access is restricted still. But like if
Got it.
one has
Okay.
access.
Someone says they got it.
Okay.
So that's good. So, okay. Yeah, perfect. Um, yeah. Okay, great. So if you want to if you're still trying to open it, it doesn't work. Once again, remember to copy it and don't just write on top of it so everyone else can do the same thing. But just request access and right here, I will just click on it and I'll grant access. Okay, great. So now we've talked a little bit about why a founder's journey and what a founder shares is so important. Let's keep talking about founder-led marketing. Now, founder-led marketing can be a real game changer, okay? Especially nowadays with AI-created content being so prevalent, people are getting a little bit skeptical of these faceless corporations and conversations. AI has created so much noise. AI is so great as a tool when we use it to modify content, to repurpose content, to make our tasks easier. But when AI is creating content, there's just a lot of noise out there. So that's why standing out is becoming harder, but it's not impossible. And this is why you need to make your brand human. Now, human means your stories, your viewpoint. I know it sounds like so much. It sounds like, oh, do I have to share so much of my stories now? I don't want to be so vulnerable, but we'll get to that. Don't worry yet. People just know that people want to connect with people and businesses through the lens of human stories, not just vague mission statements. We don't want to hide behind those anymore. People are craving authenticity, being able to relate to someone, trust. And this is actually even more important for early stage companies. I think Shada probably might be able to chime in on that a little bit because I know that she's been doing a really great job of creating personal brand content herself as the COO and co-founder of Flowjin. Yeah, go ahead, Shada. How has your experience been creating founder-led marketing content, personal brand content?
So I think like the first problem was putting myself out there and be okay with sharing things that I'm not okay, not okay being like sharing it, but like it was hard for me. For example, like I have a kind of a unique story because like I'm a newcomer in Canada. I immigrated here 3 years ago. I moved here to start my own business, and like it was the first thing that I did in Canada. And like I didn't know anybody here. I didn't have any network. And for building a business, I had to, have all these assets. And I kind of wanted to share that story with anyone who wants to like, hear about me and see my brand. So at first it was very hard to share about that, but like then I just got more and more like comfortable sharing that. But also, like, there are a lot of things that when you're first starting, it's hard. Like, what should you create content about? What should be the format? How, like, how much should I post? How many posts per week? Like all these little details. But then, like, I can share my experience later. But yeah, like there are all these aspects to it.
Thank you, Shada, for sharing. Yeah, there's so many aspects, things like that. But I think my biggest first message now for everyone here with that what Shada just said, taking that into account, the first thing is like don't get hung up on all the little things like, oh, how many times a week should I post? Or should I post on LinkedIn? Should I post on this? Should I talk about that? Like, don't get hung up on the technicalities and how often and this and that yet. Let's just start getting you out there, right? Let's just start having your voice be heard. So thank you, Shida, for sharing. So that is one example. For example, what Shida just shared, her experience sharing personal brand content for Flowjin. Now, here's two other ones who are not in the room right now, but I really like their personal brand content that they create right now on LinkedIn. One on the left is our lovely Canadian personality, Arlene Dickinson. I love her content. She talks a lot about Canadian businesses, entrepreneurship in Canada, and some hot topic issues like politics, etc. And I think she has been starting to be recognized as a hopeful voice for change as well. I know that she also started recently a podcast where she talks about various different things as well, called I think Arlene is Not Alone or whatever. But it's really speaks to her brand, which is she's very, very thoughtful. She's very relevant. She talks about relevant issues, things that affect entrepreneurs and businesses in Canada. And she's not afraid to make her opinion known very respectfully, very on theme for our Canadian. So that's Arlene Dickinson's brand. On the right here is the CEO and co-founder of Maven. So Maven is a course website. You teach courses and you put them on Maven. And he used to be the co-founder of Udemy. So two of the biggest ed tech websites and companies that there are. So he is a huge believer in creating personal brands as well. He himself says that about 20% of Maven's traffic, students who are trying to buy courses, comes directly from LinkedIn and directly from the posts he makes. And about 75% of the instructors come from LinkedIn. So that's such a direct correlation with the personal brand content that he's building that it's amazing. And while we are talking about these great, positive, and powerful personal brands, impactful personal brands, I'll be remiss if I also didn't share that there is a different side of it too, right? There's a different side of creating personal brand content. And that is that if you want to be polarizing, you can be, right? You can be polarizing. But remember at the beginning, I said, you want people to attribute you to something. And that can be your values, your opinions, your products. And this is where you get to take the reins, right? You don't want to leave it to chance. There's some individuals here that we're looking at who have taken the reins and we now attribute them to a lot of negative publicity, right? So it's just the flip side of personal brand. But here is the thing, right? Both of these individuals has taken the reins as well, because they were like, here's my strong stance. You're either on my team or you're not, right? So that's a really good part about building a personal brand. You get really, you get to filter your versus who are not your people. Because you cannot be for everyone, right? You cannot be for everyone. You have to be for a subset of people only. So that is, the other side of building a personal brand. Now, here, if you guys are all ready to do some work, are we all ready to do some work? Give me a little bit of thumbs up. Oh, perfect. Yes, love that. Thank you. So here is the Audacious personal brand framework. My consulting side loves creating frameworks and processes. And here is the one that I created for building a personal brand for people who are kind of still dabbling, or they're like, I kind of want to do it, but getting started is the hurdle. I don't really know what to talk about, for people who are at that stage, okay? And here is what we want to use to come up with the strategy. We want to start from the bottom. It is a pyramid. And this is where you also want to open up your workbook as well, because after I talk about it, we'll take a couple minutes to have you sort of write down your why, who, what, and how. So this is the pyramid for the personal brand framework. We want to start at the bottom. The first thing you want to ask yourself is, why do I want to build a personal brand? Why now? Why a personal brand? Why is this important to me right now? The reason is different for everybody. It could be similar for a lot of people, but it could be very different. List them out. Is it to hire better talent? Are you a leader who has to hire? And you're like, I'm just not getting the right people. Are you someone in sales or in leadership and you have to make more sales? And you're like, I need to get my product or services in front of more people. How do I get more eyeballs on my products and services? Or are you just trying to really establish yourself as an authority or an SME? You want to get invited to speak at conferences, you want to be invited to things like this, etc. Right? So why? Why do I want to build a personal brand? Just like Simon Sinek says, start with why. Now we're moving up the pyramid. This is the who. So this is the who. Who is the has about two parts. So the who is pretty interesting. I really like the who. The who is two parts. First of all, who am I? This requires a little bit of deep dive into yourself, or what is your unique value proposition. You're not just a marketing professional. You're not just an IT full stack developer. That's not who you are. You are so many things. What is it that's your unique differentiator, right? So that requires a little bit of thinking. So who am I? Who am I bringing out to put myself out there? Who am I showing up as, right? And then secondly, the second part of who is my intended audience, right? Who am I speaking to? Who am I trying to connect with? And thus, when you start thinking about that, getting really clear on that, then you to start understanding what matters to them. Once again, if you're a founder or a leader, you might be like, well, my intended audience is course creators. I want to talk to course creators. If I was a founder of Maven, for him, my intended audience is course creators. So you want to be making content around something, the things that resonate for them, right? We know this. If you're in sales at all, if you've been in sales in any capacity, or marketing in any capacity, or business in any capacity, you know this. Now we keep moving up the triangle, right? We have our why, we have our who am I, who is my intended audience, and then is the what. Now, what do I want to be known for? Or what do I want to say? I could talk about 10 different things, right? But I might want to narrow it down to like 3 or 4, right? Because that way I get to be sticky in people's minds, right? So, what do I want to be known for? Like for me, for example, I want to be known as somebody who is the go-to authority for personal brand for tech leaders and tech founders, right? That is what I want to be known for. That is what I want to say. What I want to say is things around that. Talk about the struggles that tech founders, tech leaders face when it comes to creating personal brand content, when it comes to showing up authentically, communicating their value, communicating their product's value, etc. So that's what I want to be known for example. So think about that as well for you and your situation. And finally, at the very top and the very last bit is the how do I want to say it? This is the tactical, the nitty gritty. What channels, for example, can I use to spread my thought leadership? So when I say how do I want to say it, that means, what are my strengths? Like, how do I want to say it? Am I a good writer? I can write, I can speak it, I can go on video. How do I want to say it, right? Do I want to say it in short little snippets? Am I really good at technical writing and long form writing? I can do blog posts, things like that, right? So how do I want to say it is at the very, very end. Now, before I dive into it being your turn, does anyone have any questions about this? If you do, unmute yourself, please, and come on the mic. No questions. That's amazing. So in that case, let's give everybody 4 minutes because there's 4 things here. Okay. If you have the worksheet open, that's great. If you're a pen and paper guy or gal, feel free to grab that as well. And, work through this a little bit yourself. Start with the why, the who, the what, and the how. So it's 28 past the hour. We'll come back and start talking at 32 past the hour. Okay, so how are we looking? Do we want to start? Maybe give me a thumbs up. Not really. This good. Yeah, awesome. So I'm not gonna ask anybody to be like, tell me your entire pyramid because we need time to do that. Okay, no one's there. Yeah. But I would do want to invite someone to come up and maybe just share their why first. And then I'll ask someone to share their who. And then I'll ask someone who's ready to share their what. Just one thing at a time. I know because we're not going to solve this whole thing in 4 minutes. Okay. So does someone want to come on here, unmute, and share their why? Do I want to build a personal brand?
I can chime in.
Okay, cool. Well, she does great and she's very gracious to start off with why, but the next who I might just like point at someone else on here. I know a lot of familiar faces in this crowd, so no, but please don't worry, I'm not gonna put anybody on the spot. Sheeta, go ahead, please.
Okay, so in our company, we sell to marketing leaders, VP of marketing, content marketing. So my first reason is to build a pipeline on my LinkedIn and sell into more of our ICP.
Beautiful, beautiful. To build a pipeline on LinkedIn so you can find more people who's your ICP and have them all in your pipeline. Amazing, amazing. That is a great reason for the why. Perfect, because now that is going to start dictating like the kind of content that Sheeta does create. Now, does anyone want to share their who? This is a little tough as well. And Sheeta kind of mentioned her who here a little bit to the audience part, but does anyone here want to share their what they think their unique value proposition or something or their intended audience is?
I think I might have
Yes.
kind of a paradox situation for who. So I
Mhm.
would like to kind of tell you that first. I'm
Yeah.
job hunting, and on the side, I
Mhm.
also do fractional consulting for SMB clients.
Yep.
My niches are content, copy, and communications.
Mhm.
One of the primary things that I struggle with in terms of personal branding is how to stand apart for recruiters who are looking for people in my profile and skill set, and at
Mhm.
the same time cater to those SMB founders, entrepreneurs, etc., who might be looking for people that need my skill set.
Yeah.
So I know my target audience. Unfortunately, there is two, recruiters and SMBs,
Yeah.
but positioning for both of them kind of presents a struggle. So
It's tough.
yeah,
It is.
and
Yeah.
so that's where I am at. That's the paradox.
Thank you, Ivan, for sharing. Ivan or Ivan?
Ivan, yeah.
Ivan. Okay, perfect. Great. Thank you so much for sharing. It is always a bit tough when you sort of are like, I'm looking for a job, but I'm also looking to get consulting, it's always a bit tough. And especially if they're a bit different. Are they different or are they the same thing for you?
It's different because I'm looking for in-house and or agency roles.
Hmm.
But my SMB clients are folks who are building up businesses or leading projects or doing the next big thing in specific niches. And they are so busy with their work that they want to delegate the content and copy stuff on with someone who they trust. So different audiences.
Okay, okay. But when you say for jobs and when you said jobs, would it not be copy and communications as well?
Oh, it's the same skill set, yes,
Okay,
but just
okay.
that the audiences are different because recruiters and companies, they might need
That's
someone else.
fine.
Yeah,
Got it. Got it. Okay. But the good thing is that it is the same. Your what you are offering is the same. So that's really good. So you might have an opportunity to really hunker down on that versus like who you're talking to might change a little bit,
got it.
but at least you're offering the same service to them. So same services to different audiences. So that's a great thing.
Got it.
Thank you for sharing, Ivan. Um, great. Yelena. Yelena.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
I had a questions because also
Mhm,
me, I have like two services. So
mhm,
I have a business which is like painting workshops events that I do
mhm,
for corporate, and I also work in operations for a
mhm.
startup. But when you have like two different sectors, I wonder how you can build it.
Yeah. Yeah, great question. I'm actually seeing this a lot. Like when I do these workshops, I'm getting this a lot. Like quite a few people are coming up saying, I have a business, but I also have a job, right? So it really depends. Are you working right now currently in operations, or are you not? Are you looking for work?
No, I do work
Okay,
already.
perfect. So if you're already working, so it really depends on your, once again, coming back to your why, right? Coming back to your why, like why do I want to build a personal brand? Is it because you're like, well, my operations job is fine right now. It's paying the bills, it's fine. I don't need to do anything with it right now, right? Am I trying to become a known leader in that industry? Yes or no? You can answer that. If it's yes, then I have to think about how to build personal brand content around that. But if it's like, no, not really, that one's fine. What I really want to do is grow my painting and workshop thing more. If that's the case, then you can start building a personal brand around that, building content around that, right? So it's really about the why, right?
Okay.
Which one do I want to grow more right now? And here's another thing though, right, Elena? And I said this to somebody a few months ago, was that it doesn't mean that you choose one right now and that's what you're stuck with forever, right? You can be like, right now, I want to grow my painting workshops business while my operations job is fine. We're good, right? But as I go through it, maybe that one will become more important. If that's the case, I can shift my personal brand. And the most exciting part is that you might even be able to combine the things later on as well, right? That can become your unique value proposition, but that's like, a little bit later. Let's just get you started with one thing first, and then we can build on that.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for sharing. Now let's keep moving on to the next part, which is that crafting your leadership narrative. So now that we've started getting the gears turning in our heads a little bit, I want all of us here to start thinking about what your leadership manifesto or narrative is. Now, your leadership narrative is your personal manifesto. You see this little diagram here, right? So your leadership narrative is basically what helps others understand you, your journey, your motivations, your values, your method. It's kind of like a little bit like an elevator pitch, right? A little small narrative, but it's not an elevator pitch. You're not trying to sell anything. You kind of like, it's just like your journey in a nutshell. Okay. This describes your lived experiences, your unique voices, values, and it has to be authentic. Okay. This allows people to build trust and connect deeper with you. You can use your leadership narrative in some things like your LinkedIn bio, in places if you're looking to speak at places at conferences, you can use that as part of your bio, etc. Right? But this is what helps people connect with you. It helps investors, talent, customers, employers, everybody believe in you, trust you, and your motivations. Now, this is once again where we'll do a little bit of workshopping. If you look at your workbook, the second section is for that. Now, I will tell you a little bit I'll ask you a few questions so that you can use them as prompts to reflect on your journey. And then I will give you an example of what I wrote down for my own leadership narrative. So how can you write your leadership narrative? You want to use these prompts, right, as thinking prompts. For example, what are your core values that guide you even when it's hard? Okay, think about that. You don't have to write all of them right now. I'm going to give you again a few minutes to do this. What do you want people to remember you for? If you are a founder, why did you start this company? Right? Was it because you were feeling a problem or a pain that no one else was solving? For example, what problem wouldn't let you sleep? For example, why did you start the company? What challenges did you overcome that built grit and confidence? Is it because you were a newcomer to the country and you're like, oh my God, things are so hard. It's already hard moving to a new country. Now I'm building a company. Right? What is your origin story? Everyone has an origin story, AKA that defining moment that made you realize that you were meant for entrepreneurship, you were meant for leadership, right? That you were meant to just jump right in. What was your origin story? And then what unique perspective do you bring to your industry? So these are things to think on. Here's an example that I wrote down for you. So I wrote down about myself that I want to share with you as an example, as a guiding example. So I spent over 10 years of my career delivering highly complex technical and business projects where I was known as the go-getter. Along the way, I noticed so many brilliant technical leaders struggling to communicate their value. They were being overlooked or underestimated. I realized I felt most successful when I transformed lives, not just systems. That is why I started Audacious to help leaders and founders marry strategy with story and unlock their full potential by building powerful, human centered brands. It's a lot of words, I know, but we're not looking for like a one sentence elevator pitch. This is your leadership narrative that you can use in your LinkedIn bios, in your bio descriptions when if you're ever applying to speak somewhere, if you're doing workshops, etc. Right? It is a concise way to share your story, your values, and for people to be like, ah, I love that. I can see myself in that. So, okay. So now, let's take a few minutes here. Let's take maybe another 3 to 4 minutes. Look at your worksheet. You can kind of use these prompts to help the wheels turn again and take a stab at writing something like this. It is totally a-okay if you're like, this is a lot for me to do in 4 minutes. I totally understand that. But just start thinking about it. And maybe in 4 minutes, one person will be, ready to share theirs. So let's go. I'll call you back again in 3 to 4 minutes. And I don't want to distract you from working, but so I've given you two options to do this leadership narrative. Okay. Option one is that you use these prompts sort of as guiding, kind of free flowing thoughts, and then you write your leadership narrative yourself. Okay. That is option one. Option two, if you're like, I want to answer each and every one of these 6 questions, you can do that. Maybe not during this webinar, but after. And then you can use the prompt that I put in there for you and put that into ChatGPT. So take the prompt exactly how I wrote it, and then answer every single of these 6 questions and put them all together and paste into ChatGPT. It will help you come up with a leadership narrative as well.
That's hilarious because I just went into ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Like, that's funny. It works.
Exactly. But for ChatGPT to do a really good job, I want you to like actually write all of these 6 answers.
Yeah.
Don't just be like, oh, one answer like that. They're not going to know, right? Give it the full color. And then of course, when it gives it to you, you can modify it. But yeah, those are 2 options to do it. All right, back I come on in your ears. I always find these things like I'm talking so much. So I love these times when people are just, it's quiet and people are doing the work. So it's not just me hearing myself talk. Um, how'd it go? Does anyone feel bold enough to share what they have written down a little bit? I know it's not a lot of time. I totally understand that. And if no one is bold enough to share it right now, that's totally okay. Quick thing is that you will get this workshop, the worksheet as well in your emails after this workshop. So after this workshop, I think about 20, within 24 hours, right, Shida? You'll get a replay as well as the worksheet in your emails. So you can also take the time later on to work on this. So you're good. Going one more time. Anyone wants to share the leadership narrative? Debbie, you're on mute, but I think you said something.
I noticed that. This is what ChatGPT said. It said, after answering some questions, it says, my leadership journey didn't start in a boardroom. It started at a datathon, where I discovered a whole new world of ideas, innovation, and people who think differently. After spending 20 years in Calgary's oil and gas corporate world as an accountant, I realized I wanted more than structure and spreadsheets. I wanted growth, connection, and purpose. I don't want, like, I want to take up too much time, but what does it says? What kept me up at night was this: if attending events changed my life, could it change someone else's too? I started In the Know YYC to make it easier for others to access the same opportunities I found, events that inspire, educate, and connect. I believe networking shouldn't be intimidating, and no one should feel like an outsider when trying to grow personally or professionally. Today, I lead by example through integrity, empathy, and lived experience. I know what it's like to start over, to feel unseen, to question your value. I also know the transformation that comes from being welcomed, heard, and connected to the right people at the right time. And then it's just like, that's what I want people to remember me, a woman who shared knowledge, led with heart, and create a more inclusive, informed, and empowered Calgary innovation ecosystem or community. So something like that.
That's cool. Something like that.
Yeah,
Perfect.
something like that.
I love that you put a bunch of your actual lived experiences into ChatGPT.
Yes.
And it really took a lot of that. You know, you might need to do some refinement to make it
tighter.
Oh,
for sure. Yeah,
absolutely. This is just a first go, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you copy pasted the little prompt thing that I put on the worksheet, because that's why I said like use a storytelling format, and then use 3 to 5 sentences max.
No, because I quickly did this and I never read it. That's why I was like, oh, wait, maybe this is wrong.
Absolutely. That's what we got to tell ChatGPT to do this. But I love it. Thank you so much, Debbie, for sharing. I think it shows your soul and your heart and your capabilities. So those are exactly what we're aiming for. So now let's move on to, now that everyone's like had a little bit of stab at that, I hope you enjoyed it. Take more time after this workshop to dig in further into this. But now let's talk a little bit about brand storytelling. Now, in the prompt that I put in the worksheet, I said, you know, if you are telling ChatGPT to do something, use the storytelling voice or use the storytelling format, right? Storytelling is very, very important. We all know this. We've heard this, right? But it is so important. People buy from people. People relate to stories. That, like, just bullet points are great. Sure. Facts and numbers are great. Yes. But a research from Stanford Women's Leadership Innovation Lab actually did research on this, which was very cool. They found out that stories are remembered 22 times more than facts alone. Guys, 22 times more, not twice more, not 5 times more, a lot more, right? So stories are, so this is like actual quantifiable data. Stories are what sticks in people's minds. So if you want to be unforgettable, lean into storytelling. How do you do that? So many ways to do it. Lean into your strength. Is it writing? Is it video? Is it audio? Is it in person? A lot of what Debbie does is in person, right? So lean into storytelling. Now let's get into some tactical stuff, a little bit of tactical stuff. So a lot of people, you know, when they start on this, there's some common mistakes that founders or technical leaders make, but they're easy to fix. So here is some of the most common mistakes I see. Thinking that creating personal brand content is the job of the marketing department. So you're like, oh, it's not my job, it's the marketing team's job, so I'm good, right? Not so much. I wish you could do that. But honestly, we talked about founder-led marketing. And so unfortunately, it is your job first. The marketing team can support you, can help you, right? But founder-led always wins. Another mistake is thinking you need to start from scratch every time. You're like, oh my God, this is so like a lot of work. I got to start from scratch every single time. No, you don't. You can repurpose things all like in many different ways. One great piece of thought leadership content can reap your rewards 10x, 5x, whatever, however good it is, however many ways you can repurpose it. Repurposing is king. Make your one piece go farther. And one of the ways it can do that if you're doing video or audio content is using a tool like Flowjin, for example. Make sure you check it out, flowjin.com. It's like an ad within a podcast. Now, another mistake is that thinking that every piece of content needs to go viral or else it's not working. I was talking to a founder a few months ago. She was like, I post on LinkedIn, but it's still not going viral. It doesn't need to go viral. Okay, let's bust that myth right here, right now. It does not need to go viral. Decision makers are looking at things, and a lot of the time, here's a secret. Here's a secret about LinkedIn. Most people will not hit like. Most people will not comment because it's a professional platform. So most people will not want to show on LinkedIn, on a professional platform, the kind of content they are looking at. Because it could be conflict of interest, it could raise suspicions. People could think, oh, are you looking for another job? Are you looking to do business with somebody else? All kinds of things come up, right? It's a can of worms. Most people are scrolling, looking at it, and they will still do business with you without hitting like. So it is not about virality, unless you're an influencer. In that case, it is a viral thing, for sure. But here, we're not talking about that. That's not the audience in this room. That's not the people I'm talking to. Content just needs to build trust and connection. Virality is nothing to do with it, nothing. Another common mistake, and I see this a lot, I think a lot of us here do, is that copy pasting from ChatGPT and then putting it onto LinkedIn and think that's good. Please don't do that. I'm physically allergic to that. I think a lot of people are too. Never give ChatGPT the wheels, okay? Use it as your assistant. Give it your thoughts, your viewpoints, story, your tone of voice. Let it format it into something basic, and then you take it, you proofread it, you edit it like your brand depends on it. Do not let just copy paste. It's terrible, it's lazy, people can see through it. We got to put a little bit more effort on that. Finally, thinking that it's only about posting written content. And some people are like, I am not very good at writing. I can't do this. You can diversify. You can use so many different types of mediums. And we're going to talk about that. And then next slide. But before we go, any questions around this? No. So let's keep talking about the tacticals. So here is a tactical. Here's a few different ways that you can create content, long form content. You can do webinars, podcasts, white papers, blog posts, newsletters, right? I know, for example, right in this room, we have Sheeta. She does obviously webinars like we are doing right now, right? I do podcasts. One of the companies that I do growth consulting for, they do white papers. Debbie does newsletters, right? So there's so many different ways you can do it. Pick one or two or even three if you're very ambitious and do those. You don't need to do the things you don't want to do. From there, you can create social media posts, you can use short form content, okay? Repurpose it. One long newsletter article can become like small things for the next 3 weeks, okay? One big webinar can become small viral videos with tools like Flowjin or other tools, right? So do a couple of long form things and then keep making a short form. You don't have to start from scratch all the time. But using all this, creating different kinds of content, once again, creates credibility, creates a strong digital brand. It makes you look like a thought leader. It opens up opportunities for speaking, for collaborations, for workshops, for all kinds of things, okay? I have been approached to do workshops and webinars and collaborations because I've been building my personal brand on LinkedIn for a year or two now. And when you create content online, remember, you can infuse your personality. Okay, if you choose to do so, to what extent you choose to do so. These are some levers you can pull. For example, there's way more as well. These are some examples. Do you want to be more formal or more casual, more entertaining or more informational, inspirational or factual, learning or expert, bold, traditional? You can do all kinds. It can be a mix of a bunch of different things, right? Remember, there's so many levers you can pull. Which way do you want to lean towards, etc. So let's wrap up this, slowly start wrapping up this webinar. So personal branding is about intentionally curating your values, expertise, and public persona to gain real estate in people's minds and attribute your product to their lives. You're making that connection, okay? And you're taking the wheel. And finally, some key takeaways. Remember, strategy first, start with what? And we're not posting blindly. We're not doing that. We have come to this workshop. We know the value of strategy first. Your goal is to create real estate in people's minds. People connect with people and with stories. Founder-led marketing can be supported and executed with your marketing team, but you're in charge of strategy. Founders and leaders can differentiate their company from competitors using their personal brand. And finally, there are many ways to create personal brand content, not just writing posts. Okay, and before I go to the final slide, I want to say that there is going to be a little survey that Shada is going to pop in. So if you could click on that, I think it's just going to be very, very tiny. If you want to just click on that and fill it out for us, we would love that. It's going to take like 30 seconds of your time. And yeah, thank you for attending. We are so very grateful. Our next webinar is June 4th, where we're going to talk about more about actionable content strategies. We're going to really get into the nitty-gritty of creating content. And finally, there's a personal brand accelerator course. It's a 6-week course that I'm kicking off end of June. Keep an eye out on that as well if you're interested. But in the meantime, please fill out the survey and let's open the floor for questions. Any questions do we have?
I have a quick question.
Yes.
My name's Akanksha, by the way. This is very
Hey,
lovely.
Kansha.
I could only come halfway through. Lovely meeting you.
Of
It's
course.
been
Thank you for
amazing.
coming.
Thank you. My question is more so about how do you recognize as you start pushing out content or building your brand, the need to pivot? Have you ever found yourself in a space where the strategy that you laid out, maybe a month or two in, based on trends or based on how people are reacting, you have to adapt and make it or change something, or if you change the role and what that looked like? Because I'm also in a position where I do a lot of sales and growth for different startups.
Mhm.
At the moment, industry agnostic. So
Mhm.
I just help with different startups and what they're doing. Personally, really passionate about women's health. So that's what I really love. I love a lot of different aspects. So it's kind of hard to figure out when I start building it, when should I go broader and I shouldn't have it down. I don't know if that makes sense, but I'm just curious.
Not fully. Maybe I dropped. I kind of like missed a few of your audio is a little bit not super clear. Sorry about that. It could be my mic too. I don't know. But I think I heard that you kind of do a lot of different things and you're kind of not sure when to focus on what, and should you just focus on your own strategy or also looking at like market trends as well? Is that the question?
Exactly. That's part of it. And the other part was, do you pivot? Have you ever done a
Yeah.
pivot in your personal brand strategy based
Sure.
on findings? That's another aspect.
Okay, perfect. So I will answer this in like one way. And if there's things missing, feel free to ask. But yes, you can absolutely pivot. So we went through the pyramid, right? I'm not sure if you joined at the beginning of the pyramid when we started doing the pyramid, the personal brand foundation. Did you get that,
I
Akansha?
briefly saw that. Yeah, I
Okay,
briefly saw it.
perfect.
Yes.
So work through the worksheet, okay? The worksheet you'll start thinking about your why, okay? And that's when you're like, you're in the startup world, you're in the tech world, you're kind of touching on a lot of different things, but what is your goal? Okay, think about that. What is you can talk about a lot. I can talk about a lot of things too. I can talk about vacationing in Greece. I can talk about yoga. I can talk about all different things too. For example, we can talk about so many different things. We are all multifaceted individuals, and that is wonderful. That is part of your value proposition for sure. Your value proposition is that you're a generalist. That's great, right? But what is your why right now? Right. So think of that to start with. Is it because you are starting your company right now, for example, and you're like, I need to grow a team, I need to find co-founders, whatever it is, right? So think of your why, and that will start guiding you towards what kind of personal brand content you want to create. You can absolutely pivot. And I think I talked about that when Elena mentioned a question. Elena asked a question. You can absolutely pivot because as human beings, we are not static individuals. Our journey moves along. Our journeys change. And as our journeys change, what we're putting out there changes too. And that's totally okay. The only thing is that it has to be cohesive. So that's where the strategy comes into play, right? It has to be cohesive. If you're like, I am starting a company and your content, your personal brand is the fact that you're a founder for a full year. And then suddenly in the next year, you're a data analyst for a company. What happened, right? People may be like, I'm losing the thread. There can absolutely be a thread, right? So your story will change and bring people along with that, and your content will change along with that. It can be like, I did that, but for now I'm taking a break to work at this so I can gain more industry experience and bring it back to my startup. You can weave that back in. But yes, you can pivot, you can change things around. It just has to have some kind of thing around it.
Got it. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you touching on all of this. It was great reflection as well. Thanks for
You're
making this
very
happen.
welcome. Great. So I think Sheeta had some trouble, right? Like sharing the poll, but the good news is you will get it in your emails when we send it out, but it's another replay. We'd love to hear from you and what you thought of the workshop, what else you'd like to see for part 2 that's coming up on June 4th. And there will probably be a part 3 as well, because Audacious and Flowjin love working together. So it's great. I think Yelena asked a question. The link for the Personal Brand Accelerator course is still being put up. So I will add you to the list. So when it is up, I will send it to you as one of the first people to know about it. That's that. Is there another question I'm missing? No, but thank you. I'm glad you guys love the session. If you have any other question, you had my details, and you'll get this webinar in your email within the next 24 hours. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.